In the previous episode, I took the engine and the gearbox out of the car and then sent the car to the chassis repair specialist to straighten the bent chassis arm. Now it is time to service the engine and put it back in the car. Back at the auto house, we're ready to start the work on the engine and replace all the leaking seals and gaskets. The engine has been washed. Now it looks like new. It's the engine, and here is the gearbox. So before putting this back into the car, we are going to replace some seals and gaskets, some broken bolts, so there is no leaking anymore. So first the valve cover gaskets, both sides, taking those coils out, the red thing is, and they're all out. Only 3, we lost one, huh? Okay, 4. Almost all bolts are out, so we can pull this cover off. So that old gasket is done for. So here is why the old gasket is filled. It's no longer rubber, it's now more like a plastic. We're now ready to put the new gasket. The gasket is back on and we're closing the valve cover carefully. Okay, now we're removing the vacuum pump. We need to change the seal on the vacuum pump as well. It's this green thingy here. We are putting this valve cover back. We put back the vacuum pump. Now we're gonna move to the other valve cover. And the other side is about to come off. This is the new belt. And the old belt goes to the bin. And the new seal on the other valve cover. So we can now start putting it back together. Today the engine will hopefully go back into the car and we'll be able to start it again. The car has been washed and is ready for the engine to go back in. Gonna go here into this spot here. Need to replace a few more seals on the engine. The seal is behind the flywheel. So here is the rear crankshaft seal, the old one. See the condition? It's gonna go here. So we're gonna put the new one now. This is the converter seal here that we need to change. Is the old one in. That one needs to come out. Now we're changing the converter seal. That's the old seal. Now we're gonna put the new one in. So here is another problem that we have. The bolts that are holding the gearbox to the engine have snapped, 7 of them. And now we have to take them out. But since these are aluminum bolts and aluminum engine, it's proving a difficulty. Apart from these broken bolts, everything else is ready to go. So we're gonna prepare the car and remove the wheels and remove the subframe so the engine can go into the subframe. Also, you need to remove the bumper. Okay, the bumper is off the car, and the bumper reinforcement, and the wheels, and about everything else. You need to take the subframe down. The engine came back from the machine shop. The broken bolts have been removed. Gearbox and the engine are back together. Now I have to reconnect everything else here. All the cables, wires, hoses. And finally the engine is back in its place. Now I need to connect all the hoses, all the cables. After that we put the radiators, fill with new oil, new gearbox oil, coolant, power steering fluid, and then start the car and see how it runs. Okay, we put the radiators back, everything's connected, supposedly. Now it's time to refill the fluids. So we're going with the engine oil first. After the engine oil, we're doing the power steering fluid. This time we're using funnel because it's fancy. It's going slowly. So we fill it to the top and it will slowly go down. Okay, so now we're gonna put the coolant. It's gonna be done with this apparatus here, the bleeding system that's gonna pull the air out of the radiator. Here we got the red coolant and some more red coolant. So this is connected now to the compressor line, and it's gonna pull the air out of the system, making a vacuum. Let's see what happens to the hoses. Yes, it's happening. So now we're gonna release the fluid inside. And you can see the level dropping. So we want to close it before any air can go inside. These are gearbox filter, gasket, and cover, and we're gonna change them now before putting the new oil in. Now we are going to change the gearbox oil. We're gonna put the oil into the tank. Then we're gonna pressurize the tank. We're gonna connect to the gearbox and then open the valve, and then the pressure is going to push the oil up into the gearbox. Did I explain that like an expert? 8 liters of gearbox oil. So from this canister, which is pressurized, there is a hose going into the gearbox, under the gearbox, and the pressure is pushing the oil up. Okay, we connected everything. All the fluids are in. The coolant, the power steering, engine oil, gearbox oil, everything there. Everything connected, all the hoses, all the wires. And now we should be able to start the car. Let's not look at the errors. 1 million errors. Oh, oil. Where's the smoke coming from?
Just from sprays and everything when loosen the bolts. It burns off too much space.
In the next episode, car goes back to my home.
Before I'm able to drive it, I need to fix several problems that I discovered in the meantime, such as broken transmission cable, broken hood latch cable, and broken air suspension. Please support me in making these videos. Subscribe to the channel, post a constructive comment, and see you in the next video.